So, given the popularity of my recent videos with ink and wash, I thought I would do another one, and I went outside to my garden, which is, pretty close to done, but look what I found. A lone little rose. So I'm going to use it as my subject and just do a nice little ink and wash that you can follow along with, and let's have some fun. Since this little piece of watercolor paper is loose, I thought I would just tape it down to my table so it doesn't get away on me. And I'm using this paper because it's that tape just wasn't making it easy for me, so it got fired. The view that you see, of course, is straight on like this. And the one I see is more like this, but it doesn't work to have this little bottle, so I'm going to take it right out of here. I'm going to lean it like this so that I get this angle. This one is really pretty. It's actually called a love rose, and it's got petals that are two colors. So when it gets big and really blooms, it's beautiful. Okay, I am going to start with a micron pen, and I think I'm going to use a 005, which is very fine, but that's the look I want. I want it to be very fine, and I'm just going to draw it. I'm not trying for perfection. If it's off kilter, I do not care. So what I want to do is, of course, start with whatever's closest to me, and that's kind of becomes the guide. You can see a little bit underneath here. That's the back of the petal, and then this kind of curves around here like this. Okay, this is not a contour drawing, it is a drawing. And like I've said before, if it doesn't turn out to be a perfect reproduction, then I don't really care, because that's not the goal. The goal is to draw a beautiful rose from nature, and so that's what I'm going to do. It's actually pretty surprising that the rose still has blossoms. Easy to get confused about which petal you're on. Anyway, it was almost freezing last night. Went down to +2 Celsius, which is just a shade above freezing. And as I mentioned before, if you make a mistake, just draw another line and put it where you want it to be. See, I made that one a little bit too long, but it doesn't really matter because I can make this work. There's my flower. I didn't do this quite right, but I will fix it in the shading with the watercolor. And then we have out here, I'm going to put the little spiky bits on after. Just kind of run it over again and down. And I know I'm explaining this so lamely that it's probably boring you, but please have patience. It's okay to just go as slowly as you want, or as quickly as you want. You can actually do that as well. This rose has pretty lethal thorns on it, but this is such a tiny bud. It's like the twig of the tree, but if it gets like on the big branches, it can be pretty picky. That didn't take very long, did it? Not hard at all. And if you're thinking, yeah, that's easy for you to say, well, the thing is, if you want to get good at something, you've got to keep doing it. And I've never been, drawing has never been my favorite thing, because I love color so much, and I always like to get the drawing out of the way so I can paint. Because of that, I've got kind of lazy about drawing, to be honest. Now, I need to clean this off a little bit. As I always say when we're doing watercolor, you need something to test your colors on. And this one has had plenty of tests done. All right, let's see what we can do here. So this color is not pink and it's not orange. And I'm going to try mixing this cadmium red light. Wow, that's really close, isn't it? It's a little bit too orange. I think I'll put a little bit of quinacridone rose in with it. What a beautiful color. Oh, I love it. Put a little bit there, this opera rose in there just to jazz it up. Okay, now what do you do if you have too much water in your brush? Here's a little trick. Take something like this. You don't want to take the paint out of it, but you can get some of the water out just by pressing at the back of the bristles like that. It sucks some of the water out of it. All right, so there's my red. I also have this color, which is a pale pink into yellow. So I'm going to make another little spot there. And what color of yellow is that? It's almost a yellow green. So this already has some green in it, so we'll throw some of that in there. Unfortunately, that makes it a little too orange. So I'll tone it down with water, and then I'm going to do this part here. Just going to put that in there, and then I want some more, just the tiniest bit of yellow in with this pink, like that, and that can go on the back of this. Watercolor is actually a lot easier than most people think, because you can mess around with it while it's wet and make it do things it wasn't planning on. This little part is quite white, so I'm going to just soften that edge so that it stays white. And then wet everything else so I don't get watermarks, which it's wanting to do. That, and hope it doesn't run too much. So while that is drying, I want to show you something. You've probably seen this before, but you can start like this, and then you can take some of that out of there. Then you can take some more out, and then you can take some more out, so that it gives you a gradation. Now, you see how this is actually soaking into this paper too much. That's why I'm getting that backwash. But if you can tip your paper too, it doesn't need to run that way. You can make it run this way. And then you can make it stop by making a dry spot. See that? This is still trying to run, but it can't because it doesn't have enough. It's like a dry creek bed. It'll just come up against it, and unless there's a lot of force, it can't go any farther. So, and then if there's too much water in here, I can just pick it up. As long as there isn't too much in the brush, I'll just soak it up. There's a little lesson of sorts. All right, let's see what else we can do with this crazy thing. I've started my Christmas shopping, and it's difficult because I have a baby granddaughter who is the cutest thing ever, and I'm tempted by everything. And my daughter said, "Mom, she takes after you. She loves shoes. Every time I take her somewhere where there's shoes, she wants to try them all on." So I went into Carter's, the baby and kids store, the other day with my husband after church. And I said to him when we were going through the door, I said, "Prepare for an overload of cuteness." Well, because he's just as smitten with this little baby girl as I am, everything looks cute, you know. I mean, naturally, it all looks cute, but then you think about it on this little person. It had things like little tartan outfits, and oh, I'm telling you, just unbelievable. Hats off to the people that design this stuff, because there's sure a lot of fabulous, cute things. Now, let's see where I'm going over this again, just to give it that. I want to start on this part, but I don't want to run into that wet part because I'm pretty sure I'll be sorry. So what I'm going to do instead is wash out my brush and get one of these little guys. Okay, let's go with some greens here. This is a really dark green because the plant is in its fall coat, kind of, you know what I mean? It's just so delicate. So let's do this. I love this really fine pen. So we'll just pop some of this color into this little area here. I wanted to announce as well that I'm getting my act together with my online store, which is at wendydewarhughes.com. And I'm working on a series of 8x8 inch by almost 2 inch deep little antique doors or vintage doors in acrylic. And I've managed to get a few of them. Well, I've got 3 done, so I've got those 3 up on my store. And I've got a couple of my bigger paintings. So gradually, it took me a while to sort of figure out this new store system, because I used a different one before. And I had it down, but then I realized there was one that actually is part of my whole website thing, and it doesn't cost me anything because I'm already paying for it. So I thought, well, what am I doing using a third party and paying? And they cranked their price up, and the Canadian dollar against the US is like gulp worthy. Like I went to Seattle with my daughter a couple of weeks ago, and used my credit card because, you know, I took a little bit of cash, but it wasn't really necessary. Nowadays, you don't really need to. When the bills came, the exchange rate was $1.42. That means anything that costs $1 in the US costs me $1.42 Canadian. And that's like, it's ouch worthy. However, I put my prices on my store in US dollars because that's kind of the international currency. I'm just adding a little bit of red to these little things because they actually have a bit of red in them. And I've also included shipping. So I figured out what is the easiest way to do the shipping, and shipping is free. There, I like that red in there. That's really effective. Now I've got a shadow under here, and let's try some purple maybe. Okay, this shadow goes down like this. So when you have a moment, I would really love it if you would pop over to my website and have a look around. I'm also considering a membership because I did ask a couple of weeks ago on a different video if anybody would be interested in that. I got a few replies. So what I'm doing at the moment is just looking at the best option. So Patreon is a very common one. There's also costs for these things. And some things work a little bit better. I'm looking at doing that, and also asking what people would want, because I don't want to do a lot of work and then find out that nobody's interested. I would like to know what people would like. Would you like extra videos? Would you like extra lessons? Would you like classes? Would you prefer to have drawings that you can use to paint? That's another possible option. See, this is the thing about watercolor. You can just keep adding layers. It's an interesting thing looking for shadows, because they're not always easy to find, because we tend to look at other things, for example, the shape of the petals and stuff like that. But the shadows are often what makes the difference in not only just what it looks like, but if it looks realistic or artistic. All right, I think that's probably about all I'm going to do with this, except that it really does need another little line across there, but it's not dry enough to work with. Okay, now I need to do the stem. which is this sort of olivey green, I guess. Anyway, one of the things that I'm being very cautious about with a membership is just how much time it's going to take, because I've been moving my life more towards easy and light, and I'm not interested in signing myself up for too much hard and heavy. So one idea that I have, if you like this idea, is to provide the drawing. And for something like this, it would be like a drawing that you can trace or you can draw from. So if you wanted to do something like this ink and wash, I could provide the picture and the drawing, and then you could paint it and watch the video. Let me know what you think, because like I said, I'm tossing ideas around and I'm not really sure which way I want to go yet. It's looking very watercolory. That kind of says what I want to say. So the thing about drawing and painting is that it's all about looking. For example, I went to a painting class the other night. I did an oil painting class, and I haven't painted in oils since I was a teenager, and I got an oil painting set for Christmas one year. The instructor showed the photograph and her finished painting, and she'd taken her finished painting and done a print of it, just a photocopy or whatever. And that's what we painted. And she painted it herself, doing every step, which was really helpful. So first you do this, the sky and the clouds, then you do the mountains in the background, then you do the ones that are in front of that, etc., and then you do the foreground. But at the end of the class, when everyone had a chance to kind of look around, I noticed how different everybody's work was, which is kind of to be expected. But I did notice that not everybody painted the trees to look like trees. And trees are a famous one for when you're learning, that you paint what you think a tree looks like, not what it actually looks like. So that's the tricky thing. You have to paint what something actually looks like, not what you think it looks like, or not what you're used to it looking like. So what I want to do here is do a little background. I tend to like blue in backgrounds just because I like blue, and it's kind of like the sky is everywhere. This is mostly water. I picked up some blue and then kind of swished my brush, dumped a bunch of it over there in my palette. And I want to do it this way so that it has kind of a disappearing edge. Okay, so what I was talking about, I don't know if I finished with that topic or not, of what to do with a membership site. But please tell me your thoughts. And what I'm thinking is, like, so many of them are kind of expensive, especially if you're Canadian, because then it's like, remember, 42%? I see ones that I think, oh, I'd love to be in that, but it's $39.99 or something. And I go, oh, well, I might as well just call it $50. So I don't want that to happen to anybody. I don't want anybody to be left out, but we'll see. I'd like your feedback on that too, by the way. One thing to remember is that watercolor always dries lighter. So sometimes you put a color down and it's like, oh my goodness, that's a bit shocking. And then you find out later that you have to darken it up because it just went so much lighter. Okay, as a finishing touch, I'm going to just mix up a little bit more of this pink paint. I guess I have kind of a lot here. I want to try this though. Oh, that'll work. I just want little specks, not big splats. I think that's enough. There, that's my rose for the day. Again, let me know what you think about membership and tell me what appeals to you. What my goal is to just have a little more connection, and a private group does that. So be sure to watch one of these videos, and I'll see you next time.